So hello everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Jane. I'm a brand designer and brand strategist. So I work with women to create brands that they can feel connected to, but also draw in their ideal clients and customers. So for me, a brand and website isn't just about something that looks good. It should absolutely help you to move your business forward, attract more followers, attract more people that love what you do and are going to talk about you and create more business for you too. So the heart of everything I do is always leads back to strategy. So really thinking about how we can strategically build your brand and also how we can make sure that you separate yourselves from the competition and from other people out there. Just to note, if you do want to put your cameras on, please feel free to do so. Otherwise it looks a bit like I'm talking to a blank screen, but if you're eating breakfast, whatever, that's absolutely fine. The person who I have actually selected, I'm not sure she's online yet, but I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through the kind of live brand audit presentation. So the idea being that I've selected somebody that from the few applicants that I had about 5 or 6 applicants that applied, and I've selected somebody to go through their live brand audit. So even if that's not you, there's going to be things that you can take away and use for your business and your brand, hopefully, which will give you some pointers into how you can really build on those connections, not just at surface level either, but really think about how you can delve into what your ideal client really wants. Neela says, I'm not able to connect to video. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so let me just share my screen now to get into the audit. So unfortunately, the person whose audit I'm doing does not seem to be here. Maybe she'll join later, but I'm going to go through it anyway. So hopefully you can all see the screen there. So the audit that I'm doing is actually for Lindsay, and she owns a company called O Jewelry. So hopefully she'll join us in a bit. So let's talk about what your audit is. Sorry, one sec. Okay. So I want to talk about your website and your brand. Is it currently working for you or against you? So the way you present yourself to the world can transform your business success. Your branding should be a reflection of your values, your products, and connect with your audience. So it holds the power to shape your story in the eyes of others. So I would love to know how you feel about your current branding or website at the moment. Is it helping you to attract more of those ideal clients? Are you getting consistent inquiries? Or do you think it might be hindering you? Are you finding that it's not really helping you in your business? So if you could share in the chat a 1 to 5. So 1 being, it's doing nothing for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not getting consistent inquiries. And 5 being like, I feel amazing about it. It's doing everything it needs to be. I'm guessing you're not going to be at a 5 because that might be why you're here, but just let me know in the chat. Okay. Nikki is a 1.5. Margie is a 3. Don't really know, to be fair. 1, bit of both. Quite confident about it, but there's room to improve. 100%. Yeah. And these things are never black and white also. There might be things that you go through today that you think, oh, I've never actually thought about that. And there might be things that you're already doing. So we're just going to take it. If there's any questions as we go as well, let me know. I like it, but not sure what others would think. Yeah. Okay. So let's delve back into this. Sorry, my computer is not really playing ball today. I don't know why. Okay, so what is your brand? So your brand is what other people think about when they hear your name. So it's not just about your color, logo, and your sort of brand photography. It's about what you're known for, how you make people feel, why you're different from your competitors, why people pay attention to you specifically, your brand's legacy, and also how you're perceived by others. And a lot of creating a cohesive brand that really connects is thinking about that emotional connection with your ideal client and how you really want to make them feel. And we're going to go through that in a bit of detail in this brand audit, but it's something I want you to bear in the back of your mind as we go through this, because it's really crucial that you kind of nail that in terms of your messaging and your tone. So the goal of this audit and brand audits in general that I do are to highlight opportunities for how to separate you from your competition, to give you a renewed focus and energy for how to position yourself and carve your own niche in your industry. So I firmly believe in any industry, there's room for everybody. Whether you are a coach, whether you have a product that other people sell, you might be offering the exact same service as lots of other people and finding it a bit overwhelming. But I firmly believe that everybody has a place in the industry, and it's about finding that point of differentiation, which is really going to connect with your ideal client. So figuring out how you want people to feel and how you're going to portray that is key to really connecting with those clients. And in doing so, in positioning yourself in that way, you are going to put off people too. People are going to come to your website and say, oh no, this isn't for me, or this isn't what I want. And that's positive. It's a really good thing. You can't be you can't be attracting everybody. You have to try and really carve that niche in your industry in whichever way that is. And we're going to go through a few examples of that in this audit too. So strategic branding really allows you to control the narrative of your brand, which can open new doors, position you in new ways, and ultimately increase awareness and separate you from others in your industry. So I'm going to take a look at this brand now. And we can go through, if you've got any questions, I've got the chat open, please let me know as we go. Sorry, I'm just admitting somebody else now. So let me know if there's any questions as we go through this brand. So I've got a few snapshots here where we've got Lindsay's website for her jewelry brand, and we've got her Instagram, and there's some pointers and observations that I've made on the right here. And the purpose of these observations is, again, not to make anyone feel bad or for anyone to feel like they've done something wrong. We all DIY brands at the beginning, and I, as a brand designer, would even recommend that. Because right at the beginning of your business, you may not be totally sure on your ideal client, your business may change. It's not the right time to invest thousands of pounds in custom design. But as you get a bit more established in your business, maybe a year, 2, 3 years down the road, you're going to be a bit more aware of the kind of people you want to work with, and then trying to attract more of them through your website and your brand. I'm sorry, there's scaffolding going on next door, so hopefully you can still hear me over the noise. I didn't realize they were doing that today. Typical. So firstly, some observations for Lindsay's brand. So I love her product. She's got some really beautiful gemstone jewelry. She focuses on quality and transparency. She also uses testimonials and reviews throughout her site, which is really important. And if you're not doing this with your brands, I really recommend you do. So any testimonials you've got are key social proof to other people that your product or service is amazing. So on your homepage, you should be having testimonials, whether it's slider testimonials, reviews, Google reviews, whatever it is. Just make sure you've got them dotted around your homepage. Make sure they're really visible. Make sure they're on your social media, because people really rely on social proof in terms of making that investment, thinking about, okay, well, she says she's X, Y, and Z, but actually, how have other people found the experience of working with them? So make sure you've got those reviews, and she does have a section there which is really clearly labelled. One of her main values is excellent customer service, so that is key for her, and that's really well done. For everybody else as well, she doesn't have an about page on her website. So I know that she sells products, and that is slightly different to having a service-based product. And I know there's a bit of a mix here in the group today, but the saying, cliche saying of people buy from people really is true. People do want to know about you. They want to know why you started your business. They want to know how you came to where you are, what your experience is, what your background is, especially if you're running a service when it comes to kind of like you, Margie, like emotional well-being for children. You want to know how that's come about, how you've started your business, why you started your business. And that helps to build that connection point with that ideal client too. So when we spoke before about connecting with your ideal client, it's on various levels. So you've got the visual level where you can just kind of get an overall sense of what someone's like, what a product or service is like. But then we really want to delve deeper into connecting with somebody on the values and what's important to them. So Lindsay filled out a questionnaire, so I know what the values of her business are, but I couldn't necessarily see them from her brand or website. So that's something that I want everyone to really think about. What's really important to you? What message do you really want to get across in your business? And is that information easily accessible? So if I don't see an about page that's front and foremost, or I don't know much about you and your business, for me, that puts me off. And I think it does a lot of people, because I want to know who I'm buying from. I think that's one of the benefits that we have as small business owners, is the fact that we are the face of our brands, we are personal brands, and we can really hone in on that, building that connection. And that's an advantage that we have over larger corporations. And again, in similar to that, I would love to see in her website more about her process when it comes to creating jewelry, sketches, mood boards. She designs everything herself, gets it made. I'd love to know that process. And with you guys, think about what your process is as well, and how easily accessible that information is for somebody to really understand what it's like to work with you, what your process is. And it doesn't all have to be on the website. If you feel like it could be on a blog page, you can link to a blog page. If you're saying, oh, learn more about me here, you can link that to a blog page. I've done that on my own website, and then I've talked about my sort of personal background and how I used to work in design agencies, and then I worked in fashion retailers, because some people want to know that. Some people want surface level, some people want to dig deep. So make sure you've got all that information. And then when it comes to her visual brand, oh, Margie, yes. Do you have a question?
Sorry, is that all right to ask throughout, or you want me to keep
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Kind of related to this, but maybe it's about the website as well as social media. Like, I do get it, like people buy off people and people want to know who you are.
Yeah.
But I think depending on what your business is, maybe as well, as a emotional coach, like a therapist, you're not really meant to share too much personal about yourself. So,
Yeah.
things like, I'm a mother, I've got 4 kids, would you advise to put those things on there, or would
I
you
mean,
say just leave
I
that
think it's
out?
if it's part of your like brand and your values, yes. So if, for example, you've started your practice because your own child couldn't get support for something, and you feel like that's an important part of why you started your business, yes. But obviously you can only share what you're comfortable sharing. I think also it doesn't necessarily have to be truly personal. It could also be just about your values for your business. So what you feel are most important about your business. So for me, I've got a section on my website on my services, and then I talk about how sort of transparency and collaboration are really important to me, and how I work with my clients in that way. So I think just about us, it doesn't necessarily just have to be like, here's my background, but it's also about why you built your business, what's important to you in your business, what's important to you with the relationships that you work with, the people that you work with. So just a bit more information about what it would be like to work with you, just so people can get that sense. And I think with a business like yours, people are really looking to know what that relationship might be like, because it's an important one, right? You don't want to make the wrong choice. You want to choose somebody that your child's going to connect with. So really talking about what's important to you and what's important to your business and what you're trying to do with your business, I think would be good for you in the about page. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sorry,
Perfect.
I have put myself on mute again.
No,
Yes,
perfect.
thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, if anyone else got any questions, yeah, put your hand up, or just come off mute or type it in the chat. Okay, so yeah, with regards to this visual brand, we're thinking, I think there's more of an opportunity to create more personality, to make the online presence more of an experience. So she talked about customer experience in terms of people getting exactly what they want, people knowing exactly what the jewelry is going to look like. But we need to think about an overall experience of touch points. So website, what might be the first one, the point of purchase, the delivery, the packaging, all of those things need to be considered to make it more of an experience. And to me, the brand doesn't really feel that memorable. So, and this is a thing that you can do with your brand too. If you took away all of the images on your website, and you took away all the copy, and you're just left with brand palette, colors, logos, things like that, which are only part of a brand, but they are an important part of a brand. Think about whether you think that feels memorable to you. Are people going to instantly recognize it? Are people going to know exactly what that brand is and what it does? And to me, this brand is sort of erring on the side of a little bit safe. And we're going to go through some ideas for that too in a minute. Okay. This thing is playing up. Sorry about this. Okay, so I'm going to go through a brand example. So this is not another jewelry brand, but it is a hair salon that I worked on. And I want to show you this for two reasons mainly. The first is I want to show you a before and after of how a brand can feel. So we're talking about that emotional connection, and we're talking about how people can really hone in on connecting with that through that emotional connection. So this is the before for the salon that I worked on. As you can see, they've kind of got some stock imagery there, some black and white photography. They've chosen navy as their main brand color. She got it done a few years ago by a website company. There was no real strategy in there. No real thought in terms of how they wanted people to feel and connecting with the ideal clients, but it does what it says on the tin, right? You can book your hair, you can book your appointment, you can read the price list. So during the strategy, we worked on creating a mission statement, obviously, and then looking at brand keywords for how we want people to feel when they come across her website and brand for the first time. So the mission statement is an established, experienced hair salon in Leamington Spa. It's a place where clients come to relax, unwind, and feel totally understood. And they leave with great hair too. So the brand keywords were experience, wellness, relaxation, warmth, heritage, connection, and attentive. So this is way more than just somebody coming to have their hair done. They want the whole experience to be relaxing. They want it to feel like somewhere they can go chat with friends, have a coffee, and really enjoy their time. So then thinking about all of these things and how we can translate that into the visual brand, this is what we ended up with. So as you can see, we've really warmed up the kind of color palette. We've thought about all the accents. We've thought about introducing the kind of green color to imitate that idea of wellness. And this is now somewhere that they actually run kind of yoga and wellness workshops too in the salon, because that's something she wanted for the future of her business. So you can see the difference in the kind of look and feel of these two things, and also adding in like brand photography and copywriting as well. That all adds to having a sort of cohesive brand that communicates the same message. So I just wanted to show you that as an example of how different the same brand can feel when you really think about strategically looking into all of those elements together. Again, if anyone's got any questions, please pop them in the chat or come off mute. That's absolutely fine. So moving back to Lindsay's brand, O Jewelry, and looking at her point of differentiation, which is something that you guys can do with your brands too. So I want to talk about competition analysis. So it's really important to think about who your competitors are in your industry. And I asked Lindsay to choose two. Oh, I think Lindsay is actually just joining us now. I asked Lindsay to do two. Hi, Lindsay, are you there? Let's just see. I think she's just connecting. I asked her to choose two competitors that would be relevant for her, and we look at those competitors not so we can see, you know, copy them or imitate them in any way, but think about how we can be different to them in an effort to position her brand differently. Hi, Lindsay, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I had a flash call.
We're actually going through your brand as we speak.
I just thought, I recognize
them. So yeah, I can chat to you after. We can go through the first bit. We've been through a little bit already about your brand, so we can go through that again. But yeah, if you've got any sort of questions, pop your hand up, pop them in the chat, and we can sort of talk about how this is. And I'm glad you're here, because now we can talk about whether this is like a good audit for you.
Brilliant,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Right. Okay. So we're going to go through, like I was just saying, we're going to go to the competitor analysis. So yeah, Lindsay had picked two different competitors. So there's Gimondo and there's Chenma Fine Jewelry. So we think about the similarities and the differences to her brand, and then I've just got some observations that I've made on their brands as well. So when it comes to Gimondo, they are another gemstone specialist selling in similar ways to O Jewelry. It's a British brand. And the differences are they use a lot of model shots as well as product imagery. And the collections are kind of split into easily identifiable categories, e.g. nature, contemporary, vintage. And they have an about us section and pages where you can see the process and values, which is what I was talking about before. Observations on their brand. The branding vibes are very clean, minimal, modern, feels high-end and premium. They have a large following and they seem very established. When it came to the other competitor, Chenma Fine Jewelry, it's a bit an odd one because they have an Etsy shop, but then they also link to a different website, which has a different brand name. So I was unsure about that, but we've gone with the Etsy one. So they have similar price on some of the gemstone products, which is their similarity, but their differences are they sell other jewelry as well. Some of it is more bolder costume style jewelry, and it feels a little bit DIY, not as established or luxurious. So we're going to do the competitor map. So I would encourage you guys to do this as well and think about adding yourself and your competitors onto a competitor map and thinking about what the X and Y axes should be. So this map visually illustrates your competitive advantage, where you land in relation to those people. And what you put on your X and Y axes are going to depend on your business and your brand and how you see your standout. So for you, Lindsay, I absolutely think that affordable luxury is something that's really key to your brand. And I feel like although Gimondo is luxurious, it's also some of the prices are more expensive. And I feel like with Chenma, it feels a bit more mass market, not as luxury. And also some of the prices aren't as affordable either. So when you're doing your own competitor map, you really need to think about how you can visually separate yourself from those other brands. So think about what those X and Y axes are. And in doing this, you're really going to think about what the key messages and key values are for your brand. So for you, Lindsay, I would absolutely have like affordable luxury as part of your messaging and part of your brand values. Because I don't feel like there are that many brands out there doing the same thing. And this is key. You have to pick something that you feel is not overdone. It doesn't have to be something that's completely unique, but you have to have a completely unique spin on it and think about why that is so different for you. I'd love to know in the chat if anyone's already thought about this and if anyone's already thought about how they are different to their competitors or even begun to think about how they can separate themselves in their messaging. And again, if anyone's got any questions, please just let me know and I'll answer them as we go. Lindsay, does that kind of make sense for you in terms of where that's all positioned?
Yeah, it does. It's funny. I've been doing some work with Catherine Erdley on the resilient retail, and one of the things I did back last autumn was benchmarking myself against other brands, which is really useful. Which is where I came up against Gimondo and Chenma, and I revisited my prices. And when I started, I couldn't find anyone who was doing exactly what I wanted to do. The sort of really good quality silver, as opposed to the what I'll call the Indian silver, the mass produced with a gemstone that's not very well cut. And so I wanted that notch up from that, where it was really nicely finished. The quality is there, it'll really last. So I did want to put myself in that gifting bit rather than the costume end of
yes. Absolutely. And I think Chenma is more like of the costume side. And I think yours is more kind of like beautiful, delicate, like everyday, but also occasion wear. So I feel like, that affordable luxury is definitely.
Yeah, that hits the, it's a nice term. I could use that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like once you have a kind of niche like that, it's a really great thing to obviously put it in your messaging and use that, but also think about how you can show that visually, how you can bring that to life so that people kind of understand a bit more about your brand as they go on your website or as they go on your social media. And we'll go through that in a bit more detail in a sec. Does anyone else have any questions about any of this, or how that might relate to their brand or anything like that? No? Okay. Right, so I just want to go through to the vision then for you, Lindsay. So your goals are to focus on your point of difference, and this would be everyone's goal, to be honest. Increase trust in your products and create a cult style brand that is instantly recognizable. So we did go quickly through your actual brand and your website and things, and that we had some really positive points, but some of them were that your brand didn't really feel that memorable on its own, and really thinking about how we can capitalize on building that connection with your brand. Because obviously your products are lovely, your product photography is lovely, but we really need to think about how your brand could maybe match and elevate that as well, to really make people know that it's luxury and it's high end. So the vision is the story we want your brand to tell. It's what we want people to think of when they hear your name or engage with the brand. So affordable luxury, timeless gemstone jewelry made with integrity. For me, this kind of captions what your brand is all about. And it's really great to have that kind of mission statement, which talks about what your goal is, what you're for, what's really important to you. So you have that clarity. So when you talk about your brand and you talk about your connection, you talk about what you do, people instantly know and understand that about you. And some keywords to think about are kind of beautiful, modern, accessible, honest, timeless, and customer focused. So I know like customer reviews and customer experience is super important to you. So really putting that in your key brand words as well, will make sure that people really understand that's what you're all about. How does that sit with you, that vision for your brand?
It's brilliant. It's what I need, really. The thing is, I know what my brand is in my head,
Yeah.
and I know that I'm not conveying it. The brand started very accidentally, really. I'm a design engineer by trade, and I started selling old jewelry on eBay, and then I stumbled into selling Clog Eye Gold of Wales. And then at the start of lockdown, that started to be a problem because they closed up, because so many places did. And so I started doing international trade fairs, and then I met a few different suppliers, and one of them said, look, if you send us some 3D models, we can make up your stuff. So it all happened without some big, wonderful business plan. It just kind of it evolved, and it's great, and I love it, and it's my life. It takes up most of my life, as I'm sure everyone else's small businesses do. But I haven't sort of stopped and put the proper foundations in. So this is brilliant, because this is who I want to be, and this is sort of who I am, but I'm not. What's in here isn't making it clearly across the different platforms.
Okay, perfect. Well, I can send you this document at the end as well, and we can have a chat about, because I know you missed the beginning bit. But I also, I was just saying to everybody else before that I think when you start your business, it can start like that, where you just kind of get in the weeds of getting yourself off the ground. And sometimes like your brand focus, you may not necessarily know what to do, how to do, and then you just kind of end up in this space where you've got this successful business, but that part hasn't necessarily been thought about. And I was just saying to everybody else here that I actually encourage DIY. I encourage you to just kind of get your business and brand out there, just to share it right at the beginning. And then when you're at the point where you kind of clearer on your customer, you're kind of clearer on where you want to be, that's when you can really start to hone in on this strategy and this vision and the kind of brand and things like that. So it's just, your brand should never be the thing that holds you back. But when you get to the point where you feel like there's a disconnect between the people that you're trying to reach or the people that you want to buy, they want to buy from you, that's when you can start thinking about building those foundations and how that should really appeal to your target client. Okay, perfect. So we're just going to really quickly go through like branding opportunities. So obviously I haven't done your full strategy, so this isn't like a full singing, dancing thing, but I've just got an overview here of where you can effectively position yourself through strategic branding. So as we mentioned before, really focusing on that idea of like timeless elegance, that kind of idea of luxury. Your brand should also feel warm and modern. So I feel like what might be missing from your brand at the moment is that sense of connection through kind of warmth. And it doesn't mean you have to introduce loads of different colors, because I understand that with a product-based business as well, you want your products to sing on the website. You don't want to clutter that. But I also feel like there's an opportunity to create more of a warmth through some of your product photography, through some of the styling, and also some little pops of color when it comes to like the packaging, some textures, things like that, which can really help convey that idea of kind of luxury too. And then looking at typography and pattern design, they're a great way to showcase your brand style. And what I always say to my clients is, if your brand was an actual person that walked through the door right now, think about how they would dress, what their vibe would be like, how they would present themselves, and think about whether your website and your brand is giving off that same kind of vibe. So I definitely think there's an opportunity to do more kind of model style photography, maybe not for all of your products, but maybe just for like banner sections. Thinking about mixing up maybe some of the backgrounds and things like that, so you've got more of a contrast in your colors. Introducing some warmer tones, I think, would be great to build that idea of kind of warmth and connection. And then looking at ways in which actually with your typography on your logo, you could be a little bit more, I don't want to say playful, but just a little bit more less safe, I think. You've got the opportunity to sort of play around with it a little bit more. So you create a brand that is memorable, that people will recognize as being you, but it still feels like that kind of like timeless, elegant feel that you want. And we want people to land on your website and just go, oh God, yeah, like this is what I want, this kind of high-end look, but without the really high prices. How does that kind of sit with you? Is there any kind of new ideas there, or anything that you hadn't thought about before?
No, I kind of pared it back down, the colouring, because it was a bit too random.
Yeah.
So I kind of got that sandy sort of colour, which I feel is natural and kind of organic. But I agree, there's not much warmth. It depends what the month is as to what pops of colour I put in.
Okay.
But I could certainly put more texture in, because I was trying to find a colour palette that goes with all the different birthstone months, which isn't going to exist. So I think I was trying to be impossible. So I need contrasting colours for different months to get that warmth in. So at the moment I agree, it's very neutral. I've got the beige and the black and the white, which is kind of...
I think even just adding in a little bit of colour on, like, say if you had different logo variations, for example, if you had brand marks, you could add that onto the footer. Or just the little call to action buttons could be a slightly different shade. Like, I think it's just subtle changes, which I think would alter the way someone feels about your brand. And I think there are lots of brands out there which are kind of black and neutral and beige. And again, thinking about how you can separate yourself from those, how you can create a little bit more personality and create a bit more of that connection, I think would be good. But like, there's nothing that you're doing that's like inherently wrong. There's nothing like anything like that. But I think
just beige. It is beige buffet, isn't it? It's just, yeah, it's not awful. It's just not memorable. So
yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities. And then when you kind of really think about how you want to position yourselves and relay that to your visual brand too, you're thinking about how you can create a brand that feels like affordable luxury. And that's when you can really create that sort of cohesive, consistent brand that people understand and people begin to know and like and trust as well. Perfect. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Sorry, I've just seen Neela wrote, I have done that, but I'm not sure if I've done a good enough job. I would love other options on that. Was that for the competitor analysis, Neela? Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can chat at the end if you would like. And yeah, I was going to... That's the end of the kind of brand audit. If anyone's got any questions, please pop them in the chat. But I would love to know what people's takeaways have been from today. If there's anything new that you are now thinking about, or anything that made you want to assess where you're at with your current brand. And while you're doing that, just going to stop sharing. And also at the beginning of the chat, at the beginning of the workshop, I asked you 1 to 5 how you're feeling about your website and your brand. Has that changed for you now after this? Do you still feel the exact same? Do you feel like it's more effective, less effective? Let me know. Oh, sorry, Margie, you've got your hand up. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to answer your question. I think I should probably do a little bit more about that. You know, the values and things
Yes.
you mentioned around that. When did you say there is like a questionnaire that you can complete for
So
that?
yeah, well, there was a questionnaire. So if you wanted your brand to be audited, I sent out a questionnaire to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm happy to send out, well, you can still fill in retrospectively and we can still have a chat about that if you'd like to. So yeah, it should have been in the first email sign up that you got, a link to a questionnaire. And actually the few people that filled it out did kind of say it was helpful to kind of go through and really think about. So yeah, by all means, go through and fill that out and we can have another chat. I'm happy to look at your brand as well, Margie, if you wanted a sort of separate brand audit too. We can look at that, no problem. Neela said, yes, I definitely have to put in testimonials. Yes, perfect. So yeah, feel free to fill that in, Margie. And then if you've got any questions, we can catch up afterwards.
Yeah. I think we had a whole rebrand at work so not my business, but my job.
Right.
So where I was part of that, I kind of think I touched on some of those things because I had gone through it. I thought, oh yeah, I should think of this, I should think of that. But yeah, I think it's like you said, Lindsay, that things that are in your head and that make complete sense to yourself, or maybe even more like a feeling than a word, and how you're going to put that out there. So yeah, I think around those things like the value and the personality, and yeah,
I think that's
definitely
it.
do a bit around that.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy when you're in your own business to know exactly what you do and what you offer and how you want people to feel because it's your business, right? But when you get like a third party person like me just swooping in and looking and like giving observations, it might feel different to how you think it feels. So yeah, it's always good to have that like extra perspective on how your business is presenting itself, I guess. But yeah, if anyone would like a chat about your brand or anything that any questions that you have, or if you just want an informal cuppa about, doing a brand audit for your brand or anything that you've sort of thought about today, then I've popped a link in the chat and that will take you through to my appointment scheduler where you can just arrange a 30-minute call and we can chat about it. So yeah, if anybody wants to do that, you're more than welcome. That's my offer to you. But yeah, does anyone else have any other questions or anything they want to know before we leave?
I've got one more, if I may.
Go for it, Margie, go for it.
Maybe I'm really overthinking this. But would you put, like, if you have a degree kind of title, would you put that on your website? As in when you're speaking about having an about section, because I always think, like it's really not that important, but maybe for parents it is. I don't know.
What's your degree in? Is it very relevant to your?
I've got a bachelor in social work and I've got a master's in childhood and youth, so they are relevant.
100%.
But equally, they're not the qualification I'm working with.
I think they are relevant. I think I would only put qualifications in if they were hyper relevant to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
They do seem like they are, and I think different parents are going to look for different things when coming to work with a therapist like yourself. And I think for some people that might be really important, and for some people less so. So I would absolutely put it in. And then I would just talk about, if you don't want to go into more detail about your personal experiences and things, I would just talk about why you started your business, why it's so important to you, how you work with parents, what's important about the relationships that you build with the children. Just make sure you're really honing on that. But yeah, I would absolutely have your degree and qualifications into.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have any questions or anything they wanted to add? No, I can't see any hands or anything. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, if anyone would like to have a chat or anyone thinks of any questions, then please pop me a message and the link is there to arrange a chat if you would like to have a quick call about your brand. But thank you everyone so much for joining. And Lindsay, I will chat to you. I will send you over the document because I know you missed the beginning bit and we can talk about that. Perfect. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.